11 fakultas tersebut adalah Fakultas Keguruan dan Ilmu Pendidikan, Fakultas Hukum, Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis, Fakultas Ilmu Sosial dan Ilmu Politik, Fakultas Pertanian, Fakultas Kehutanan, Fakultas Perikanan dan Kelautan, Fakultas Teknik, Fakultas Kedokteran, Fakultas Matematika dan Ilmu Pengetahuan Alam, Fakultas Kedokteran Gigi, dan program Pasca Sarjana dengan 24 program magister dan 1 program doktoral. Selain itu, guna menjadikan Universitas Lambung Mangkurat menjadi universitas yang terkemuka dan berdaya saing, serta untuk menghadapi tantangan global di era revolusi industri 4.0, Universitas Lambung Mangkurat telah menerapkan sistem tata pamong yang baik yang memenuhi 5 pilar, yaitu kredibel, transparan, akuntabel, bertanggung jawab, dan adil menuju perguruan tinggi dengan tata kelola baik atau good university.
Fatur Rahman host tuh. Tur bisa ada anu videonya di bawah tuh dihilangkan? Kada. Coba ikan anu videonya tadi. Sudah masuk lah. Karena pindahkan ke Helmi. Live streaming tur, putar anunya, videonya.
Provinsi Kalimantan Selatan memiliki kekayaan sumber daya alam yang berlimpah, menjadikan Kalimantan Selatan berkontribusi besar pada pembangunan di Indonesia. Provinsi Kalimantan Selatan berkembang membangun negeri, mengembangkan masyarakat menjadi masyarakat yang dapat bersaing di tingkat nasional maupun internasional. Kebutuhan akan tenaga ahli di berbagai bidang mendorong berdirinya Universitas Lambung Mangkurat di Kalimantan Selatan. Universitas Lambung Mangkurat didirikan pada 21 September 1958. Universitas Lambung Mangkurat ditetapkan oleh Presiden Republik Indonesia sebagai Universitas Negeri pada tanggal 1 November 1960. Saat itu, Universitas Lambung Mangkurat hanya memiliki 4 fakultas, Fakultas Hukum, Fakultas Ekonomi, Fakultas Ilmu Sosial dan Ilmu Politik, dan Fakultas Pertanian. Tuntutan untuk turut meningkatkan keilmuan dan teknologi Universitas Lambung Mangkurat atau ULM untuk terus meningkatkan pelayanan pendidikan menuju visi terwujudnya ULM sebagai universitas terkemuka dan berdaya saing di bidang lingkungan lahan basah. Dengan ditetapkan berdasarkan SK Rektor nomor 157 tahun 2000 tentang perlunya ULM menjadi Center of Excellence di bidang kajian lingkungan lahan basah. Sebagai kampus yang berorientasi dan berkomitmen kepada lingkungan, ULM menjadikan kampus yang berwawasan lingkungan lahan basah. Konsep ini merupakan keunggulan Universitas Lambung Mangkurat atau ULM sebagai lembaga pendidikan tinggi. ULM tidak hanya harus mengenal secara mendalam karakteristik lahan basah, tetapi juga harus memberi pahaman kepada masyarakat bahwa lingkungan lahan basah harus dimanfaatkan secara bijak. Universitas Lambung Mangkurat memiliki dua kampus, Kampus Banjarmasin dan Kampus Banjarbaru. Kampus Banjarmasin terletak di Jalan Brigjen Hasan Basri Kayutangi, Kota Banjarmasin, dan Jalan Veteran. Sedangkan Kampus Banjarbaru terletak di Jalan Ayani kilometer 36, Simpang 4, Banjarbaru. Sampai tahun 2018, Universitas Lambung Mangkurat memiliki 11 fakultas, 3 program diploma, 63 program sarjana, 11 program profesi dan spesialis, 24 program magister, dan 1 program studi doktoral, dan terus akan berkembang sesuai dengan kebutuhan masyarakat. 11 fakultas tersebut adalah Fakultas Keguruan dan Ilmu Pendidikan. Fakultas Hukum, Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis, Fakultas Ilmu Sosial dan Ilmu Politik, Fakultas Pertanian, Fakultas Kehutanan, Fakultas Perikanan dan Kelautan, Fakultas Teknik, Fakultas Kedokteran, Fakultas Matematika dan Ilmu Pengetahuan Alam, Fakultas Kedokteran Gigi, dan program Pasca Sarjana dengan 24 program magister dan 1 program doktoral. Selain itu, guna menjadikan Universitas Lambung Mangkurat menjadi universitas yang terkemuka dan berdaya saing, serta untuk menghadapi tantangan global di era revolusi industri 4.0, Universitas Lambung Mangkurat telah menerapkan sistem tata pamong yang baik yang memenuhi 5 pilar, yaitu kredibel, transparan, akuntabel, bertanggung jawab, dan adil menuju perguruan tinggi dengan tata kelola baik atau good university governance. Dalam penyelenggaraan dan pelaksanaan kegiatan akademik, keberadaan Universitas Lambung Mangkurat didukung oleh beberapa unsur pelaksanaan administrasi yang terdiri atas beberapa biro, bagian, subbagian, lembaga, unit-unit pelaksana, dan unit-unit penunjang lainnya, seperti lembaga penjamin mutu. Lembaga penelitian dan pengabdian masyarakat yang juga membawahi berbagai pusat kajian dan penelitian khusus yang terkait lingkungan lahan basah. Lembaga peningkatan dan pengembangan pembelajaran. UPT Bahasa. UPT Perpustakaan. Pusat Informasi Pelayanan Terpadu dan International Office, Unit Pelaksana Teknis Pengembangan Teknologi Informasi dan Komunikasi. Dalam menunjang aktivitas akademika Universitas Lambung Mangkurat, baik itu dosen, tenaga kependidikan, mahasiswa, dan alumni, ULM melengkapi diri dengan berbagai unit-unit pendukung, seperti Career Development Center, Inkubator Bisnis Teknologi IBT, layanan pengadaan secara elektronik LPSE, Pusat Pelayanan Asesmen Kompetensi, Pusinetekom Hutan dan Lahan Basah, dan lain-lainnya. Universitas Lambung Mangkurat didukung oleh lebih dari 470 sumber daya tenaga administratif, laboran dan pustakawan, dan lebih dari 1.000 tenaga edukatif yang profesional, handal, dan kompeten di bidangnya. Sampai akhir tahun 2018, Universitas Lambung Mangkurat telah memiliki lebih dari 300 doktor dan 43 guru besar. Hal ini menjadikan Universitas Lambung Mangkurat sebagai lembaga pendidikan dalam pendidikan, penelitian, dan pengabdian baik di level nasional maupun internasional. Beragam fasilitas yang representatif diberikan untuk menunjang pembelajaran, seperti ruang kelas yang nyaman, ruang bimbingan, ruang laboratorium dengan fasilitas yang lengkap, sarana olahraga, teknologi informasi atau internet, perpustakaan, student center, asrama mahasiswa, ruang pertemuan, ruang pertunjukan, open space, klinik, rumah sakit gigi dan mulut, dan apotik. Selain itu, saat ini ULM telah memiliki auditorium yang sangat megah dengan kapasitas lebih dari 4.000 orang yang dibangun dengan cara Islamic Development Bank dan selesai tahun 2018.
Universitas Lambung Mangkurat berdiri pada 21 September 1958, merupakan perguruan tinggi yang tertua di Kalimantan. Dalam menyelenggarakan Tridharma Perguruan Tinggi, ULM berfokus pada program unggulan pengelolaan lingkungan lahan basah. Dalam mewujudkan visi ULM, misi yang akan dicapai agar ULM menjadi universitas yang terkemuka dan berdaya saing adalah: 1. Menyelenggarakan Tridharma Perguruan Tinggi yang berkeadilan, berkesetaraan, berkualitas, dan relevan dengan perkembangan iptek yang berfokus pada program unggulan pengelolaan lingkungan lahan basah. 2. Menyelenggarakan penguatan tata kelola universitas berdasarkan tata kelola universitas yang baik, good university governance, mengembangkan kelembagaan, meningkatkan kualitas sumber daya manusia dan sarana prasarana. 3. Menyelenggarakan pendidikan berbasis karakter wasaka, wajah sampai kaputing, tetap bersemangat dan kuat bagaikan baja dari awal sampai akhir, dan berdaya saing internasional. Empat, menyelenggarakan kerjasama dengan berbagai perguruan tinggi dalam dan luar negeri, pemerintah pusat dan daerah, dunia usaha dan industri, serta pemangku kepentingan lainnya pada tingkat nasional dan internasional.
Upaya pengembangan Information and Communication Technology terus dilakukan secara sistematis oleh Universitas Lambung Mangkurat, seperti di Pusat Informasi Pelayanan Terpadu yang sudah 4 kali secara berturut-turut menerima penganugerahan dalam Pemeringkatan Keterbukaan Informasi Publik kategori perguruan tinggi negeri se-Indonesia di Istana Negara pada tahun 2015 dan di Istana Wakil Presiden Republik Indonesia tahun 2016-2017 dan di tahun 2018. Semua komputer direktorat dan fakultas sudah terhubung dengan jaringan internet. Setiap fakultas terhubung dengan Network Operation Center Information and Communication Technology dengan fiber optik. ULM juga melakukan peningkatan kemampuan bandwidth internet menjadi 1.800 Mbps. Untuk menunjang penelitian, dosen dan mahasiswa, dan kegiatan praktikum di lapangan, Universitas Lambung Mangkurat juga memiliki berbagai laboratorium pendidikan, penelitian, laboratorium basah, kebun percobaan, teaching industry yang berlokasi di Banjarmasin dan Banjarbaru yang pengembangannya merupakan hasil kerjasama dengan Kementerian Riset Teknologi Pemerintah Daerah serta dinas-dinas terkait serta stakeholder lainnya untuk pusat pengembangan iptek yang berkelanjutan. Untuk mewadahi bakat dan minat mahasiswa di ULM, terdapat unit kegiatan mahasiswa atau UKM juga ditangani dan dikelola dengan serius. Mahasiswa yang memiliki minat dan bakat dapat menyalurkan pada UKM-UKM yang ada.
Dalam suatu proses belajar mengajar, Universitas Lambung Mangkurat menerapkan konsep student center learning, suatu pendekatan pembelajaran yang dipercaya efektif dalam meningkatkan kualitas belajar peserta didik, yakni dengan melibatkan mahasiswa untuk memahami materi secara aktif. Selain itu, tidak hanya teori-teori saja, melainkan harus langsung konteks yang terjadi di lingkungan sekitar.
Universitas Lambung Mangkurat hadir untuk masyarakat Indonesia yang adil, makmur, dan sejahtera, dan menjadi Center of Excellence penelitian dan pengelolaan lahan basah.
Hi, can you hear my microphone?
Yes, we can hear you.
I already sent the video link, so I think it's better to play from your control, not from my screen.
แมงกะพรุนเกิดมา
Yeah,
เป็นนัก
that's
ฆ่า
right. Okay.
และพิษของมันสามารถฆ่ามนุษย์ได้ใน2 นาที
ไม่เชื่อครับ
ไม่มีใครตาย
ดำน้ำมาเป็น10 ปีเราก็เลยยังไม่รู้นะว่ามันมีแมงกะพรุนที่ทำให้ตายได้ด้วย
ก็ไม่เคยได้ยินว่าแมงกะพรุนทำให้
It
คน
worked well. Okay.
The toxin is with, yes,
so toxic
yeah.
เสียงครวญด้วยความโศกเศร้าของญาติกับการจากไปของเหยื่อที่ถูกแมงกระพรุนกรอบมัจจุราชใต้ทะเลแรงฤทธิ์ที่เกาะพะงันจังหวัดสุราษฎร์ธานี
มีคุณหมอพจมานจากกระทรวงสาธารณสุขอะค่ะเขาตามมาบอกว่าเนี่ยมีแมงกะพรุนพิษที่ทำให้ตายได้ด้วย ก็สงสัยว่ามันทำให้ตายได้จริงหรือ
ตัวนี้อะไรหางมันจะติดหนังเราเลยตัวนี้
แล้วก็พยายามจะเก็บข้อมูลต่างๆ เพื่อเป็นหลักฐาน แล้วก็ลงไปสืบสวน
It's work good.
Yeah, it seems to work, the video.
Yeah, it's work well. Thank you so much. And right now I just
Cek. Belum.
Provinsi Kalimantan Selatan memiliki kekayaan sumber daya alam yang berlimpah, menjadikan Kalimantan Selatan berkontribusi besar pada pembangunan di Indonesia. Provinsi Kalimantan Selatan berkembang membangun negeri, mengembangkan masyarakat menjadi masyarakat yang dapat bersaing di tingkat nasional maupun internasional. Kebutuhan akan tenaga ahli di berbagai bidang mendorong berdirinya Universitas Lambung Mangkurat di Kalimantan Selatan. Universitas Lambung Mangkurat didirikan pada 21 September 1958. Universitas Lambung Mangkurat ditetapkan oleh Presiden Republik Indonesia sebagai Universitas Negeri pada tanggal 1 November 1960. Saat itu, Universitas Lambung Mangkurat hanya memiliki 4 fakultas: Fakultas Hukum, Fakultas Ekonomi, Fakultas Ilmu Sosial dan Ilmu Politik, dan Fakultas Pertanian. Tuntutan untuk turut meningkatkan keilmuan dan teknologi Universitas Lambung Mangkurat atau ULM untuk terus meningkatkan pelayanan pendidikan menuju visi terwujudnya ULM sebagai universitas terkemuka dan berdaya saing di bidang lingkungan lahan basah. Dengan ditetapkan berdasarkan SK Rektor nomor 157 tahun 2000 tentang perlunya ULM menjadi Center of Excellence di bidang kajian lingkungan lahan basah. Sebagai kampus yang berorientasi dan berkomitmen kepada lingkungan, ULM menjadikan kampus yang berwawasan lingkungan lahan basah. Konsep ini merupakan keunggulan Universitas Lambung Mangkurat atau ULM sebagai lembaga pendidikan tinggi. ULM tidak hanya harus mengenal secara mendalam karakteristik lahan basah, tetapi juga harus memberi pahaman kepada masyarakat bahwa lingkungan lahan basah harus dimanfaatkan secara bijak. Universitas Lambung Mangkurat memiliki 2 kampus, Kampus Banjarmasin dan Kampus Banjarbaru. Kampus Banjarmasin terletak di Jalan Brigjen Hasan Basri Kayutangi, Kota Banjarmasin, dan Jalan Veteran. Sedangkan Kampus Banjarbaru terletak di Jalan Ayani kilometer 36, Simpang 4, Banjarbaru. Sampai tahun 2018, Universitas Lambung Mangkurat memiliki 11 fakultas, 3 program diploma, 63 program sarjana, 11 program profesi dan spesialis, 24 program magister, dan 1 program studi doktoral, dan terus akan berkembang sesuai dengan kebutuhan masyarakat. 11 fakultas tersebut adalah Fakultas Keguruan dan Ilmu Pendidikan. Fakultas Hukum, Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis, Fakultas Ilmu Sosial dan Ilmu Politik. Fakultas Pertanian. Fakultas Kehutanan. Fakultas Perikanan dan Kelautan. Fakultas Teknik. Fakultas Kedokteran. Fakultas Matematika.
Hello, Ajan Lakana.
Yes, hello.
This is Muhammad Indrawan. Welcome. Thank you for your help.
It is my pleasure to join this conference.
Yeah, it's very important for us. So very grateful that you can make it. And I think Miss Christmas Uchiyama also here. Our friend Miss Arich Rias from Canada here as well. And maybe Miss Ekoning Tias also here. So we are just getting prepared now. And moderator, Miss Dia Asri, I think she will be here if she is not here yet.
I'm here. Hello, everyone.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank
Hi,
you,
everyone. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Pak Dekan.
Yes, good evening.
Welcome, Pak Rohmat.
Yeah, good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's very good that you can make it because we didn't expect that you would come before 7, but yeah, very good.
So,
yeah.
Okay.
We have
Mas
our...
Indrawan. May I, Mas Indrawan?
Yeah, Madani.
Yep. Before we proceed, I have to apologize because of the unstable signal on my connection.
Okay.
Maybe I do not turn on my video.
Oh.
Apologize for that. Yeah.
Yeah. Mbak Dia, do you have any comment?
No, maybe just when on the very beginning, Budani, you can open your video so everyone can see you, but after that, you can turn it off again.
Okay, agree. Yes. Okay.
Good idea. Yeah. Sorry, this is now azan, so we respect the azan.
Yeah. After finish probably we can start.
Here I am with the video.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, Bapak.
Hi.
Nice to see you.
Nice. Yeah.
Maybe later, Bu Dani, when you become the discussion. Now it's okay.
Okay.
We are not started yet. We are waiting for the committee to start after the azan.
How are you, Professor Lakana?
I'm fine.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah. Thailand is okay with COVID. It's how this is your expertise, right? About epidemiology. How do you control epidemiology in
the COVID. You mean COVID, a box jellyfish?
yeah, COVID?
Very well, because we have experience in MER and SARS before.
Yeah.
And we also have very good structure and network.
Okay.
We have system, structure, and personnel, which is a combination. It's very good.
Yeah. Are you very busy because of COVID yourself? Because this is
yes, COVID, everyone have no job, but for me, it's too many jobs, many tasks.
Yeah, really tough.
Lot of work. And in Chiang Mai University, I'm the only one who have the field epidemiology training program. So I am the only medical epidemiologist.
Yeah.
So a lot of works. And also at other university or other place asked me to help.
Yeah.
But very good experience.
Of course. Of course. But you must take care of your health because dangerous.
You know what? It is funny because I use the concept that I do with a box jellyfish.
Really?
Yeah, to use in because it's unknown disease,
Yeah.
Unknown because we have no knowledge before. So I use this one for setting the model, creating model for the surveillance for the real estate, community, industry setting, which is a challenge.
Yeah. Excuse me, Ajan. I would like to introduce you to the dean, our dean from Faculty of Science, Pak Romatullah.
Hey. Yes.
Professor Lakana.
Nice to meet you. Yes.
Yeah, Professor. How to pronounce your last name?
Hai Krea.
Thai Korea.
Thai Korea.
Good.
You can call me my first name if you Lakana Thai
I
Korea.
try. Yeah.
I
try
know
to pronounce your
it's
name.
difficult for foreign.
It's okay.
Pak
I try
Romatullah,
to yes.
maybe we can invite Professor Lakana to MIPA because he is expert on box jellyfish, on the epidemiology of deadly jellyfish. But now she is working with COVID, so maybe if we invite her to speak at the Faculty of Science, she can tell us how she handle the deadly sea organism and the deadly COVID pandemic.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's very possible. For example, like in October, we can invite Professor Lakana to speak in our what we call webinar series. Yeah. The next webinar series probably in October. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's
We
possible
just
to
have another conference last week.
Really?
Among Southeast Asia. I think among Asia, 5 countries, and I represent from Thailand to give in the conference to talk about the box jellyfish, how to deal with it.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah.
And we also have with us Miss Christmas Uchiyama. Would you like to introduce yourself, Miss Uchiyama, from Asia Pacific Network for Global Change Research?
APN for Global Change Research.
Yes, hello, good evening, everyone. Hello, my name is Christmas Uchiyama, and I work as a program officer at the Asia Pacific Network for Global Change Research. I am very happy to be part of this webinar, and salamat petang. I hope I pronounce it properly. Yeah, I'm looking forward to discussing with Ms. Lakana and our other presenter.
Good evening. Good evening.
Thank you, Ms. Chris.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Can we start?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we will start. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
The Honorable Rector and Vice Rectors of Lambung Mangkurat University, the Honorable Dean and Vice Deans of Teacher Training and Education Faculty, Lambung Mangkurat University, the Honorable Dr. Rahmatullah, SSIMH, Dean of Math and Science Faculty, Indonesia University, the Honorable Dr. Muhammad Indrawan, CEIA Lead Editor, the distinguished speakers, Professor Dr. Lakana Taikria, Chiang Mai University, Aris Rias, Climate Change Specialist, the distinguished discussants, Ekonimtias Marduwardani, researcher at the Asian Center for Biodiversity, Christmas Uchiyama, Program Officer, Knowledge Management and Scientific Affairs, ABM. Dear participants, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the International Webinar Series and Book Discussion, organized by Social Science Education Major of Teacher Training and Education Faculty, Lambung Mangkurat University, Banjarmasin, Saturday, September 26, 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, to begin the event today, Let us recite Basmalah. Ladies and gentlemen, the first agenda is welcoming speeches. The first speech will be delivered by Rector of Lambung Mangkurat University with a short video. Please.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I would like to thank the organizing committee of the Second International Conference on Social Science Education for this opportunity. It is a great honor for me to be speaker in this prestigious international conference conducted by study program Social Education Faculty of Teacher Training and Education Universitas Lambung Mangkurat. On this occasion, I would like to talk about the new policy of Indonesia Minister of Education and Cultures, that is independent campus and freedom of learning. Or in Bahasa Indonesia, people say kampus merdeka dan merdeka belajar. Independent campus and freedom of learning is a brand new policy of the minister. This policy has wondered some people. They are questioning whether Indonesian campus have not yet independent. If it is, who are occupying or controlling our education? In fact, I do feel that Indonesian higher education institution cannot move freely in their effort to meet high standard of serving, especially because of complex regulation in terms of administration obligatory. Higher education institution leaders and staff are busy with their tasks to meet such a tight administration, which are mostly, in my point of view, not directly related to the quality of serving. Accreditation process and regulation is also becoming a nightmare for head of department, faculty dean, and rector. The quality of education that implies to the competencies of alumni is also questioning. For instance, if university graduates have a level of skill and competences that meet workplace requirement. Moreover, the needs of working life are changing very fast due to the changing of science and technology. In order to meet the need of community for workforces with a certain skill and competencies, university have to open new department. For example, currently, due to rapid development of information and communication technology, online trades is searched and developed rapidly. And for that purpose, people need to know and understand about digital business. University, as an education institution, has to provide education services for people who want to learn about that knowledge. But to open or to start a new department or study program as such is not easy because of complexity of regulation. The spirit of new policy of independent campus and freedom of learning is this. The second, accreditation system. The third, legal entity of higher education institution. And the fourth, 3-semester learning right outside the study program or department. This policy is expected to give benefit to students as well as lecturer. For students, they will get experiences and competences such as hard and soft skill through experiential learning, familiarity to workplace, and could be recruited by the company where they are doing the internship. And also students don't lose their credit point and still could finish their study on time. For lecturer, they got closer to identify industry or workplaces, and they can also updating of application of knowledge and technology, updating course material, acquiring research ideas, credit point guidance, and they don't lose their courses. The concept of freedom of learning can be articulated as the concept of link and match. It is pictured as a loop, a closed loop between academic and industry. Like a ring, university cannot be separated with business, industry, community, and government, with learning outcome or LO as intermediate goal. 3 pillars of higher education institution are education, research, and community services, with the main function as an agent of character development of the coming workforces. The learning outcome consists of knowledge, attitude, hard and soft skill. From business, industry, community, and government, university will get feedback in order to improve its curriculum and academic practices. Feedback may be collected from monitoring, treasure study, and also from alumni. This is conducted regularly. Data collection through treasure study is conducted by Career Development Center, a unit within university. And within the university, it has also incubation center, a unit functioning as a startup accelerator. Research result or patent which have market potential is developed in this unit. Incubator center also helps students to develop their entrepreneurial talent. So this is the idea of independent campus and also freedom of learning. And for this purpose, Lambung Mangkurat University has made several activities. For instance, revitalization of the curriculum. Curriculum for each study program within university has been changed, and we will start to implement this policy in this academic year 2020-2021. So I hope by doing this, we can improve the quality of education in our university and also can improve the competencies and the quality of Indonesian workforces in the near future in order to meet the requirement of the work life and also workplace. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
The second speech is delivered by Dr. Rohmatullah, SSI, MH, from Math and Science Faculty, Indonesia University. Please welcome Dr. Rohmatullah, SSI, MH.
Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The Honorable Profesor Dr. Sutarto Hadi, Master of Science, Rektor Universitas Lambung Mangkurat, Sud Kalimantan, Profesor Dr. Lakana Taikruya from Chiang Mai University, and Aris Rias from Carbon Manager, Pakistan, and Ekoning Tias Marguwardani, Asian Center for Biodiversity, Christmas Uchiyama from Asia Pacific Network for Global Change Research, and Asri Diwyah Reni, founder of Komunitas Satu Senyum, and also Dr. Muhammad Indrawan, book editor and researcher from ISER, Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Science, Universitas Indonesia. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, congratulations to this international webinar and the second International Conference on Social Science Education and Book Discussion. It is my great pleasure to welcome you to this webinar and book discussion organized by Universitas Lambung Mangkurat in cooperation with the Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Science, Universitas Indonesia. And today's event will raise a theme on promoting environmental sustainability through social science perspective. Ladies and gentlemen, Institute for Sustainable Earths and Resources, ISER, Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Science, Universitas Indonesia, has a vital role in clarifying the facts, creating and building solutions to help solve the very complex dimension of climate change problems, and also the basic needs of overall sustainable development from upstream to downstream in Universitas Indonesia. And ISER adopted 17 goals of the United Nations Sustainable Development by integrating our understanding of the tropical islands from multidisciplines perspective, looking for the science-based global environmental solution to support the sustainable development of the tropics. As a forum for academic and practitioners, the ISER has a vital role to participate in spreading the knowledge and skills needed to improve the management of natural resources. ISER also adopted the importance of developing quadruple helix relations among government, society, industry, and academia, because collaboration, these four pillars, is essential in supporting the implementation of sustainable solutions. Ladies and gentlemen, the book with the theme Civic Engagement in Asia, Lessons from Transformative Learning in the Quest for Sustainable Future, is a remarkable cooperation between more than 30 writers from 11 Asia-Pacific countries and cooperated by Universitas Indonesia, Chulalongkorn University, Asia Pacific Network for Global Research, for Global Change Research. The two of them will featuring two state-of-the-art topics from Thailand and Pakistan, namely building citizen science for public health and gendering climate change response. Ladies and gentlemen, I sincerely hope that you will enjoy this webinar and book chapter discussion, and we open for further collaborative works between scientists from Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Sciences, Universitas Indonesia, Universitas Lambung Mangkurat, and other stakeholders from government, society, and academia. I hope you find meaningful discussion and inspiration moving forward from this session. Thank you and enjoy the webinar. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
The last speech is given by Dr. Muhammad Indrawan, CEIA Lead Editor. The time is yours.
Still mute, Didi.
Indrawan.
Yes.
Thank you again. That is the usual problem that I have, always mute. But I would like to appreciate Universitas Lambung Mangkurat, especially Professor Dr. Sutarto Hadi, Director and the Head of Organizing Committee, Ibu Dr. Desi Arisanti, and of course the distinguished speakers from Chiang Mai University, Professor Dr. Lakhana Taikorea, and also my very good friend, Miss Arich Riyad from Pakistan, Miss Ekoningtyas Margu Wardani, long-time friend. She's from Indonesia, but she now works for ASEAN. And then Miss Christmas Uchiyama, who has been very helpful in us collaborating for the book. And of course, Miss Asri Dwiyah Reni. So this if maybe you can you see the PowerPoint? Can you see the PowerPoint now?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Usually the most important and the closest one tends to forget to mention, but of course all this will be very difficult achievement if not for the support of the Dean of Faculty of Sciences, that is Dr. Rahmatullah. So from the depth of our hearts, editors and authors, thank you very much for the support. This is a book, as mentioned by Dr. Rahmatullah, 31 authors, 11 countries, and it is a book of not only intellectuals, like not only very distinguished academics like Professor Lakhana, but also many are activists and independent activists and builders of organizations and movements. So these the writers are, I believe, champions for sustainable development. So before we meet two excellent representatives, I would like very briefly to explain about the chapters in the book. There are 24 chapters, and we will hear from Professor Lakhana Taikorea in this slide. Her article is number 11. Imagine, for 1 decade, she is fighting box jellyfish when no one cares. This is what the rector, Pak Professor Sutarto Hadi said. Freedom campus. So she took the freedom to fight box jellyfish in the field, not just in the classroom. No. So this is one of our heroes, Professor Lakana. Thank you for coming, Ajahn Lakana. And then there are, of course, these 13, including number 3 is very good and very deep from Dr. Diki Sofian, the hardware of ecological sustainability in the Asian context. And then number 12 and 13 is also amazing about how people in Fukushima after the triple disaster, how they learn to become citizen scientists so that they know what is happening and no one can make fool of them saying that it is safe when it is not safe. So they learn how to use Geiger counter. Okay, and the rest 11, including our speaker today from Pakistan. She is now living with her family in Canada. But you remember, Pakistan is one of the first countries in the world who offered support for Indonesian independence. So I'm very happy to have my dear friend, Ms. Arich Rias. She's working with Miss Mary Dupar from UK, and being an activist herself, talking about climate change, it is not only talking, but doing. And how, if you think that Pakistani woman is less able than from European countries, you must hear what Ms. Rias said, and you can wonder how wrong we can be in assuming the role of women in being active in climate change, and not just being a subject, but also becoming a game changer. So I think I will conclude by saying once again, this is work from the heart of the authors and supported by Chulalongkorn University, APN, Asia Pacific Network for Global Change Research, University of Indonesia, Samdana Institute, and Yayasan Khati Indonesia. There are more, but this is work by many people and many organizations. So I hope you will enjoy the talk, and yeah, please take over from the organizing committee. Thank you. Selamat malam. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera untuk kita semua.
Waalaikumsalam. Before the main agenda, welcome to Rector Universitas Lampung Mangkurat, Professor Dr. Sutarto Hadi, MSI, MSc. Please open the international webinar series and book discussion. Please welcome Professor Dr. Sutarto Hadi. The time is yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marisa Pradesari, for introducing me to this seminar, webinar series, and also book discussion. So I would like to apologize for being late coming to this meeting, because hectic program today from the morning. We have the PKKMB orientation phase for the new coming student in our university. So I'd like to thank also to the organizing committee for conducting this international webinar series and also book discussion. I think it's very good activity, especially from a social study program, Faculty of Teacher Training and Education. I also like to convey my gratitude to the speaker in this book discussion, especially from a colleague from counterpart from ASEAN countries. And I would like, I think this is a very good activity to widen our horizon about many issues in Southeast Asia. So once again, thank you so much to the organizing committee, and also please accept my apologies for being late to this international webinar series and also book discussion. Okay, please proceed. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Ladies and gentlemen, now are on main agenda of the international webinar series and book discussion. To lead this session, I will invite Asri Dwi Hreni, founder of Komunitas Satu Senyum. Please welcome Asri Dwi Hreni.
Okay, thank you, Miss MC. Before we start with this evening discussion, I would like once again say thank you to Professor Sutarto Hadi, Rector of Lambung Mangkurat University, Dr. Rohmatullah, Dean of Faculty of Maths and Science, University of Indonesia, as well as Dr. Muhammad Indrawan, the editor of the books that we're going to discuss tonight, as well as the initiator of this event. When Dr. Indrawan the first time asked me to become the moderator for this meeting, he mentioned that the theme of the discussion is women as agents of change in public health and climate change. So that's why I put myself as the founder of Komunitas Satu Senyum, because it's more appropriate with the event. Me myself is a conservation biologist by training, but I also founder of a community, a Komunitas, so that will be more appropriate. So with that theme, women as agents of climate change is public health and climate change. We have 4 outstanding, amazing women with us today, 2 as speakers, and the other 2 will be the discussion. The first one is Professor Lakana Taikura. She is a professor in Community Medicine Department, Faculty of Medicine in Chiang Mai University, Thailand. Professor Lakana is an expert in the field of public health and medicals, currently also an advisor for COVID-19 surveillance, prevention, and control system in Lampung Province, Thailand. She will discuss her book chapter in the book titled "A Decade Fighting Box Jellyfish Health Issues." And in the chapter, she mentioned a key message. One of the key messages is science and local knowledge can be brought together by virtue of longer-term commitments. So I think before I invite the second speaker, Ms. Arich Rias from Pakistan, I would like to invite Professor Lakana first. You have 7 minutes for your presentation. After that, I will call Ms. Arich Rias, introduce her as well, like this. Please, Professor Lakana, the time is yours.
Thank you very much, and good evening, everyone, and all the ladies and gentlemen. Actually, I live in a mountain in northern part of Thailand, no sea at all. I would like to have the video clip that I sent to give you some idea and some picture before I have a few minutes talk after the video. Would you please turn on the video clip that I sent?
แมงกะพรุนเกิดมาเป็นนักฆ่าและพิษของมันสามารถฆ่ามนุษย์ได้ใน2 นาที
ไม่เชื่อ
ไม่มีใครตาย
ดำน้ำมาเป็น10 ปีเราก็เลยยังไม่รู้นะว่ามันมีแมงกะพรุนที่ทำให้ตายได้ด้วย
ก็ไม่เคยได้ยินว่าแมงกะพรุนทำให้คนถึงกับเสียชีวิตได้
Really die?
Yeah.
Really
the toxin
die?
is yes.
So toxic?
Yeah.
เสียงครวญด้วยความโศกเศร้าของญาติกับการจากไปของเหยื่อที่ถูกแมงกระพรุนกรอบมัจจุราชใต้ทะเลแรงฤทธิ์ที่เกาะพะงันจังหวัดสุราษฎร์ธานี
มีคุณหมอพจมานจากกระทรวงสาธารณสุขค่ะเขาตามมาบอกว่าเนี่ยมีแมงกะพรุนพิษที่ทำให้ตายได้ด้วยก็ สงสัยว่ามันทำให้ตายได้จริงหรือ
ตัวนี้อะไรหางมันจะติดหนังโดนหรือตัวนี้
แล้วก็พยายามจะเก็บข้อมูลต่างๆเพื่อเป็นหลักฐานแล้วก็ลงไปสืบสวนสอบสวนว่าเนี่ยมันมีอยู่จริงนะ
นี่เลยแต่ว่าก็ฟังงันแต่ว่าคนได้
ใช่ใช่เสื้อของเรามีไหมของเรามีไหมตัวมันขนาดไหนอะ
ลูกจอกกินน้ำ
ก็เจอทุกปีหรือเปล่า
ถึงฤดูของมัน
ฤดูของมันช่วงไหนนะ
สมมันก็เหลือเดือน7 เดือน8 เดือน9 เดือน10 30 เดือนได้เลยใช่ไหมเด็กนั้นมันลงไปปลดอวดใช่ไหมเพราะว่าทุกว่าเด็กมันขึ้นมามันเน้นใช่ไหมแต่คือมันคายอยู่เลยใช่ไหมเด็กนั้นเดี๋ยวมันตายเหมือนกัน
หลังจากพิสูจน์แล้วขั้นตอนถัดไปเราจะทำยังไงให้เขาองค์ความรู้เนี่ยเป็นเรื่องของการป้องกันเพราะมันเป็นเรื่องใหม่ของประเทศไทยอะค่ะแล้วก็ประเด็นถัดไปก็คือหลังจากนั้นมาแล้วปีหลังๆเราจะขยายไปถึงแนวนโยบายได้ยังไงนะคะ
นักท่องเที่ยวสาวชาวเยอรมันเสียชีวิตเพราะถูกพิษของแมงกะพรุนกล่องหลังลงเล่นน้ำที่เกาะสมุย
ช่วงนั้นมันมีการตายในชาวต่างชาติอะค่ะซึ่งเป็นเรื่องละเอียดอ่อนมากตามหลักของมาตรฐานสากลเนี่ยเขาให้มีการเตือนกันคือเราคงทำให้คนไม่ตายไม่ได้แต่ถ้ามีการเตือนมีการป้องกันเฝ้าระวังอะไรต่างๆเนี่ยเขายอมรับได้ค่ะซึ่งการป้องกันเนี่ยเป็นเรื่องที่ง่ายและก็ถูกแล้วก็ประเด็นว่าถ้าทำให้ตายได้มีการป้องกันแบบนี้ได้เนี่ยทำไมเราไม่ทำ
สำนักระบาดวิทยากระทรวงสาธารณสุขร่วมกับแพทย์ระบาดวิทยาจากภาควิชาเวชศาสตร์ชุมชนคณะแพทยศาสตร์มหาวิทยาลัยเชียงใหม่ร่วมกันศึกษาแก้ไขปัญหาการบาดเจ็บจากแมงกระพรุนพิษในประเทศไทยตั้งแต่ปีพุทธศักราช 2551 ซึ่งมีแนวโน้มเพิ่มขึ้นทุกปีในช่วงฤดูกาลท่องเที่ยว
Okay. So I would like to tell you about the real-life story of how we fight the unknown and complex health threats during the past decade. It began in 2008, and my junior friend asked me to join to study, investigate of this thing. We are a medical epidemiologist, or another name is a detective doctor. We formed this small leading team to develop initiative solution to solve this toxic jellyfish health problem. At the time, the situation was difficult and of the conflict of interest, women could lead to death. Furthermore, experts denied the existence of lethal jellyfish. It became politically sensitive, increased attention, especially in the form of news coverage by the international media, stigmatized the image of the safety tourists in Thailand. We consider community response to box jellyfish sting to be an important part of the mitigation strategy. Rapid response from the community members is critical given that the golden period before the envenomation led to death is about only 2 minutes. The response consists of 3 stages. The first stage mission was to prove the existence of the deadly jellyfish and to assess the magnitude of the problem. The second stage aimed to gather knowledge for improving medical care and respond to public health risks and integration of ad hoc surveillance into the international system. The third stage mainly concerned development of sustainability and filling in knowledge gaps. Sustainability was developed on the principle of egalitarian partnership and policy commitments. In the toxic jellyfish case, effective cross-sectoral cooperation, especially among ministries, developed over time. Furthermore, the governing authorities have created space for wider stakeholder groups. Personnel originally not trained in medicine, along with trained health workers, are now able to conduct first aid and educate the general public. This is particularly important in situations where emergency personnel cannot quickly reach the scene of incident. Furthermore, in later on, we found that the new species of feather box jellyfish was discovered actually from the student. He is my former patient. He was stung by the box jellyfish, and I subsequently encouraged him to study the species. Other outcomes and impact in the past decade include new knowledge of medical care, establishment of a surveillance system and networks, implementation of the prevention measures. There are many innovations such as a cheap, practical, simple technique to collect and identify jellyfish class, vinegar first aid pool, stinger net, educational warning sign. Along the way, we can convince people to accept new first aid instead of traditional treatment. The tourism industry also benefits from the risk communication and first aid knowledge. Society recognizes us and gave us many awards. The most valuable things that I have been received along the way is beautiful friendship from colleagues and communities. Thank you.
Professor Lakana. Now
Yes.
we proceed to our second speakers, Ms. Aris Rias from Pakistan. Her chapter is entitled Female-Driven Climate and Environmental Action Champions from Pakistan. And the key message of the chapter, one of it is women playing a very important roles in finding solutions to environmental and climate change challenges, whether they are as home managers up to policy makers. Ms. Riaz gained expertise in climate change through business industry background, as well as having 15 years of experience with working with government, corporation, and NGOs alike. And currently, she is a climate consultant with various organizations in Canada. So please, Ms. Aris, the time is yours.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Assalamu alaikum.
Salam.
I want to thank Dr. Indrawan for inviting me to work on the book and also on the webinar for me to be able to share the work we've done. I'm just going to share my screen if I'm able to. There we go. And we can run through the slides then. I just want to take a second and appreciate that the chapter that I wrote, Female-Driven Climate and Environmental Action in Pakistan, was co-written by another author named Mary Duper. She works on climate communications with the Overseas Development Institute in UK. This entire work that we did is focused on the experiences of Green Women Pakistan Forum, which is a forum made on WhatsApp group and on Facebook that connects thousands and thousands of women working in the environmental sector in Pakistan. So before we start anything, I want you to consider a couple of questions, and they're just here to set the framework for what's to follow. What do you think about when you think of women and when you think of climate change? Do you think about decision making? Are you thinking of their knowledge, their expertise, their experiences? Or when we look at woman and girl and we look at it from the context of climate change, we think of victims of climate change or agents of change. This is an important conversation to have because it's what sets the global discourse. And this is exactly what we want the conversation around the global decision-making to be gendered on climate change. And the reason for that is because right now, the climate action plans that countries have submitted to United Nations framework of climate change have 50% of them include domestic constituency of women, and that's 50% too less, in my opinion. And this kind of gives you a better idea of why we're having this conversation, because this graphic demonstrates how climate change impacts and enhances the burden on women. And makes them those agents of change and important decision makers within their communities who have that power to multiply the impacts and multiply the effects across different sectors. This also reflects the change in how women's leadership is being acknowledged as fundamental to the success of any environmental program out there. And when we're looking at outcomes of environmental programs and climate change projects or initiatives, we need to look at how women are being involved from that particular community, from that particular sector. And obviously there is evidence now, there's masses and masses of evidence out there that climate policies and programs definitely underperform when women's needs and concerns are not taken into account and when women do not have a meaningful say in decision making. I'm not going to go into too much detail with the graphic, but even if just we take water scarcity, for instance, there's governance issues with that. There's water sector involved in that. There's the agriculture sector involved in that. There's the women's priorities around economic sustainability, about providing for their families, having that water access, having that water access quick enough to be able to get to the education that they're looking for. So there are multiplier effects, even if you look at one of them. Of course, there's also the fact that the sustainable development goals and all of that development conversation happening globally and locally and nationally is key to bridge the gap between global emissions for equality. And women possess those skills and ideas to solve those climate problems. And we're not just talking about Indigenous women who have this wealth of knowledge, we're talking about other women as well. And we want, obviously, both men and women to be included in discourses to create those effective and sustainable solutions. Nothing is going to be sustainable if half of the population is not involved in the process anyways. And while women tend to have a smaller ecological footprint compared to men, because women have more eco-conscious behavior and attitudes, they also have higher challenges and more barriers when they try to access finance and technology and resources to be able to adapt to the climate change impacts. So there's obviously that kind of greater access that they need to be able to take on their capabilities and abilities to social resilience around climate change and to be able to also help their societies adapt to the changing climate. So the study that we did, we set out to study what are those main roles that women play and what are those main roles where we can support women in terms of resources, that finite resources that could be provided to them. And we also wanted to see and showcase stories of change that recognize the importance of engaging women on environment and climate action, of course. So whatever data we took was done through online surveys with the women that are part of the Green Women Pakistan Forum. And we also conducted 15 semi-structured interviews as follow-up to some of these individuals to get better knowledge. Like I said, all of this fits into 5 roles based on the research that we did and the methodology that we used. So most of the women are part of the environmental professionals kind of ambit. And these range from consultants to, disaster management professionals to professors who work on consultancy assignments. There are also home managers who can either be individuals who have studied environmental sustainability in their master's or bachelor's programs, or they could be people who haven't necessarily studied environmental sciences or have that necessary background, but do work around environmental sustainability in their free time. We also have green entrepreneurs, which is like a huge chunk of the sample size that we worked with. And these are individuals that have those startups and innovative businesses that are producing products or services with sustainable solutions offered. We have policymakers that work as decision makers or counselors or with municipal governments around environmental sustainability. And then we have educators that focus around education of the masses, whether that's academic or whether that's more informal. I'm going to give a couple of examples of people because the whole idea with this chapter was to celebrate the women that are doing the work. And there are some really interesting examples, but I've just chosen a couple for this particular presentation. A really cool example of an educator is Afia Malik, who is based in Islamabad, and she's an economics professor with ComSats University. And one of her side gig is that she has made a carpool mobile app and also a smart water usage app, a mobile application basically. And she uses it for like commercial laundries and rainwater harvesting technologies. And she has been able to educate the masses on how to conserve water and how to lower their transport emissions while being an educator of economics. And that's one of the examples of people who've studied something else but have learned around environmental sustainability and are continuing to spread that knowledge. One of the housewives, we had the pleasure of meeting just one of the housewives. There were so many who were doing amazing work. One of them was Sadia Irshad, who lives in Lahore in Punjab, Pakistan. And she works with indigenous women from suburban and rural areas all over the country. And she supports them with trying to find out what kind of skills they have and what kind of experiences they have and bringing that together to support them in poverty reduction from sustainable product development, which is very ingenious and very unique as well. You'll see the logo in the right center of the slide, which says Environmental Protection Agency, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. So that's a provincial environmental protection department in one of the provinces in Pakistan. And this is comprised of like hundreds and hundreds of men and just one woman. And that one woman is called Zakia Javed. She's a deputy director. And that one woman has done more work than most of the men in that particular department. And I'm not exaggerating. She was at the helm of the development of the climate change policy for that particular province. She was also part of the team that made the action plans for multilateral environmental agreements, international multilateral environment agreements for that particular province as well. You'll also see Papu Recycles, which is
Arich, sorry, you have 2 more minutes.
Oh, that's perfect. I'm almost at the end.
Okay, thank you.
So Papu Recycles was started by a friend of mine and Pak Didi, Mehrun Nisa Malik. She started this initiative in 2016 to provide commercial and business industrial kind of areas in Islamabad city with a free recycling service. So she gets there, she teaches you and educates you about what kind of recycling you could do, glass and paper and steel and whatever, and sets up those streams for you. And then she just takes it for free and then she gets rid of the recycling for you. And that's amazing because that's not something the city government offers on their own. We also have One Earth Toys, which is a friend of mine, Farwa Tasadduk, who uses non-biodegradable plastic and recyclable materials to develop these environment-friendly toys for children. And then Citizens for Clean Air, which is run by Aisha Raja. She is an environmental lawyer. And she runs this kind of like a citizen platform and dialogue that teaches citizens about what our air quality is, because Pakistan has been affected by smog a lot, similar to Beijing in China and New Delhi in India. So this particular platform informs people about up-to-date knowledge on the air quality. Some of the learning that came through from the work we did is that women's role depends on the customs, traditions, and her own life values, what she studied, where she lives in, people around her, what kind of support system she has. Also, that the women play a significant role in shaping the environmental behavior of future generations and in influencing community and family values. And if better integrated into policy making and environmental planning and with access to more resources, imagine what they can do as protectors of the environment. At the heart of the gender debate on climate action is the fact that women have experienced the impacts of the degraded environment and changing climate for years and years, and have since been leading environmental protection efforts as managers, rehabilitators, and innovators of the natural environment. And there are, of course, many, many other roles that they can play. If you want to get in touch and want to know more about the project that we did or about the chapter that we wrote or want to talk about the takeaways and learning, this is my email address. Please feel free to get in touch. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Arich. Before we start the discussion with our amazing discussants, Ibu Dani and Miss Christmas Uchiyama, I would like to invite one question from everyone, if any. Just one short question as a bait. If you have any question, you could raise your hand in the participant list. Is there any question? If not, then we will continue the discussion, but I will wait a few minutes. If anyone will raise their hands to have a question, either for Professor Lakana or Miss Arich. Oh yeah, we have one question from Miss Farah Kubaila. Please, the time is yours. Make it very short, this one question, because after the two discussion, we will have question answers time again. Please, Miss Farah, if you can open your video as well, so we can see you.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
I'm sorry because I cannot open my video because
okay.
I didn't wear any hijab tonight. So, first of all, I would like to send my gratitude to the ICSSE committee for the very interesting event tonight, and also to our super awesome rector of our beloved university, Professor Sutarto Hadi, and also all the speakers for tonight's event. My name is Farah Kubaila. I am a lecturer at the Faculty of Social and Political Science at the Lambung Makurat University. And I have a question especially for Ms. Arich. So we are planning to open a new major, international relation, at our faculty. And then the topics that Ms. Arich brought is actually very interesting because we are focusing our major will be focusing on diplomacy of environment and also diplomacy of economy. So we will have a special major or focus on environment. So like you said before, you said that men are more eco-conscious and attitude. So can you explain more about that? Because as like I know before, we never have a lesson or a lesson about gender and environment at the same time. We used to talk about gender and politics, and then also we used to talk about climate change, but they are a very, very, very different aspect. So we never discuss about it at once. And you brought about it very interesting. So I would like to ask you about more explanation about why men are more eco-conscious and have more eco attitude, because maybe women just didn't have the chance to have the spot. For example, at the United Nations, Leonardo DiCaprio.
Miss Farah, sorry, Miss Farah, can you make it shorter?
Yeah,
Because we still have it.
and I'm about to finish, so that's my question. Can you please explain about it more so we can have more discussion in the future in our new major, international relations? Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Miss Farah. Miss Arich.
Sure. Right. So women tend to have a smaller ecological footprint compared to men. And that's primarily because women have more environmentally conscious behavior and also attitudes. But if we look at the more broader, so we're talking about research studies that have assessed and calculated and explored this in greater detail. But when you look at the overall global population sets and compare men population versus women population on who did much better in terms of environment sustainability, which is so I mean it has to make sense when you're doing that study as well, right? It doesn't happen that way because for women they come along with a whole baggage. They come with kids, they come with elders that they have to take care of. They come with the sick that they have to take care of as well. And when we talk about men, it's quite unfair as well, because when we talk about men, we're only talking about them. We're talking about what did they do in terms of transport? What did they do in terms of waste management or whatever? We don't take into account that it's the women of the household and of the communities that are taking care of most of these things. So it's kind of like production versus accountability in a manner of speaking. So there are a lot of emissions that then don't get to where they should be and don't get accounted for in both of the genders equally and in equity, which is what the fair distribution would look like if we're doing a more fair analysis of who did well. So studies have definitely shown that women are more eco-conscious, whether they know about it, whether that's subconscious, whether that's just happening because that's their value and that's their general behavior. Studies have also shown that men tend to have more of an attitude towards environment, and they think it's emasculating. They think it's not masculine to think about recycling or to have a green bin or working with food scraps. Women are much easier convinced to do all of those things. But yeah, I'm glad you brought it up. This is a factor of unfair distribution of sample representation rather than actual men being more environmentally conscious than women, which is not the case. But yeah, I mean, I hope we can go further with that. And if you're introducing that course, it's definitely going to be very interesting for the students to study the difference between the two.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Arich. Thank you, Ms. Farah. I think we can proceed to discuss with our two discussions today. The first one is Dr. Dani Ekonintia Sumarguardani, who is a resource economic and livelihood specialist in the ASEAN Center for Biodiversity in Philippines. But I think currently she is work from home in Yogyakarta, Indonesia. Dr. Dani is anthropologist and economist by training and an expert in the field of environmental economics, food security, indigenous people, poverty relation, disaster risk management, and many more. And she is focused, of course, in the ASEAN countries as well as Japan and the Netherlands. Our second discussions will be Miss Christmas Uchiyama. She is a program officer at the Secretariat of the Asia Pacific Network, APN, for Global Change Research. She is expert in sustainability issues, ecosystem services, especially to determine local community perception and recognition of ecosystems services. She also worked a lot with community and local government. I think I will invite both Dr. Dani first and then Miss Christmas can follow. Each one will have 10 minutes, each one will have 7 minutes to discuss the book by Professor Lakana, the book chapter by Professor Lakana and Miss Arits. The time is yours. Thank you.
Terima kasih Mbak Dia. May I ask some assistant from the organizer to flash my PowerPoint presentation, please? While we are waiting for the presentation, let me introduce myself to you. But actually, Mbak Dia already introduced myself very well, so I can skip this. Mbak Dia is very right that I'm in Jogja now because of working from home scheme. Next, please. I have read the two papers wrote by Prof. Lakana and Miss Arits, and that have been presented before. Both papers are very interesting and pertinent, especially in this current situation. Prof. Lakana especially discussed about health-related issues coming from the jellyfish in Thailand. And this is very interesting because here in Jogja, we also have many kind of jellyfish, but I didn't expect that the jellyfish coming in from Thailand, it's very deadly and it's already evident presented by Prof. Lakana. What we learned from Prof. Lakana paper is that we do have a good lesson learned for other countries on the importance of preventing and controlling measures in the jellyfish prone area. I would say that just like in the disaster management term, jellyfish prone areas. For example, in the beach, like I mentioned before. We also learned that the collaborative efforts led by the scientists from the university has proven to cope with the incident. Multi-stakeholders involvement is very important to get a successful result. And next slide, please. In another hand, Ms. Arit's paper discussed about the gender mainstream issue in environment. She presented environmental champions from Pakistan, ranging from the environmental professional to educators. She already presented before very comprehensively. This is very interesting, especially when generally speaking, I stress it generally speaking that we are living mostly in global patriarchal system. Next slide, please. So from the two papers, what we can learn from those? From the danger of deadly jellyfish in Thailand and female environmental champions in Pakistan, I note important lesson learned in terms of civic engagement. Collaboration of multi-stakeholder is the key, especially in the pertinent issue such as sustainable development, climate change, and health-related issues. Next slide, please. Aside from the two interesting papers presented before, allow me to provide you with another perspective of the civic engagement experience in biodiversity arena in ASEAN. I will take one example from the program that I'm working on in the last 2 years, namely the small grant programs or SGP. Next slide, please. In SGP, we support the development of collaborative management plans in each SGP implementing countries. And so far, we have been operating in 3 countries in ASEAN, namely Indonesia, Myanmar, and Vietnam. The development of CMPs are based on the existing management plan in the countries with the emphasis on the local community involvement. The plans aim to guide the program implementators in the field involving the national park management, CSO, and local communities. Next slide, please. So this is my last slide actually. In this last slide, I would ask the participant to reflect on the discussion that we have before. Personally, from my side, I have two important points, but we can discuss further later about this. And the first one, from Mr. Lakana and Ms. Arit's finding, it is very clearly shown that the involvement of local communities is very important in any collaboration program. And the second one is, we learned that the good participatory approach can create the assurance of the multi-stakeholder engagement so that it ensures that nobody left behind. Thank you so much. Mbak Dia, it's all for yours.
Yeah, thank you, Mbak Dani. I think I would like to invite Miss Christmas Uchiyama now. She's from Philippines, but I think now residing in Japan. So we will have an additional knowledge from Asia now.
Thank you very much, Ms. Dia. So let me just share my screen. Okay, can you see the screen now?
Yes, but you have to make it bigger, full page.
All right, let me. Is that fine?
Yes.
Okay, good evening, everyone. So first of all, let me formally introduce myself. My name is Christmas Uchiyama. You can call me Chris, and I work as a program officer at the Asia Pacific Network for Global Change Research. And as Ms. Dia have said, I'm from the Philippines, but I've been in Japan for more than 5 years now. And today I'd like to introduce you first to the programs and activities of APN. And then after 3 minutes or after such time that I'm able to introduce our network, I'd like to go on and discuss the presenters, the presentations made by two presenters. So let me just take you to the introduction about APN. So we were established in 1996 and we are composed of 22 member countries. And our secretariat is based in Kobe, here in Japan. And mostly our funding is coming from the Ministry of Environment of Japan, Hyogo Prefectural Government, and the Ministry of Environment, Republic of Korea, and from the Ministry of Environment, New Zealand. So on the right side, you could see the focus areas of APN, which compose of climate, biodiversity and ecosystems, air, land, coast and oceans, food, water and energy and their interrelationships, risk and resilience, and human dimensions. So basically, what we do is we provide funding and support regional research and also capacity development activities. So once we support projects in Asia Pacific region, we also promote the outcomes and outputs coming from those projects, and we use those outputs and link them with our policymakers. So as you can see on the map, we have 22 member countries. Our 22 member countries, almost all of them, we have our national focal points, and our national focal points are the ones providing input and giving us direction as to which are the topics that are mostly prioritized or urgent in Asia Pacific. And also one of the other important things that we do is community engagement, which is how we cooperate with like-minded organizations and individuals. So in our last year's call for proposals, I'd like just to provide you with our prioritized list of topics. So we have here from 1 to 6, and that includes climate change and climate variability, ecosystem-based adaptation and disaster risk reduction, smart agriculture, especially smart agriculture is very much an interest in South Asia, and transboundary issues such as transboundary pollution, and those other transboundary issues involving water, fisheries, microplastics, and waste management and invasive species. And the last two kind of newer themes that we are focusing on is the transition towards a sustainable future, which includes sustainable consumption and production. And the last one is the linkages or the nexus between or among water, food, and energy. So as I've said, we are supporting projects, and we have our main two core programs, which are the collaborative research program and the capacity development program. So on the left side, you would see the information that we usually have with regards to this program. And in our last strategic phase, which is 2015 to 2020, APN were able to support 119 projects. And of those 119 projects, we were able to have 650 distinct outputs. And from those projects that I've mentioned, we have involved 1,600 scientists in the region. And we also have involved 11,600 people, mostly from communities and government and the academia. So you'd see the word cloud word on the left, on the right, and that says that climate change is the most dominant topic, followed by other topics such as water, technology transfer, disaster management, food security, and microplastics. Also, I'd like to just take this opportunity to promote our new paper, and this is a knowledge synthesis of the efforts that has been done by APN or the researches that has been conducted in the Asia Pacific region. Sorry, I correct myself, in the Asia region from 2013 to 2018. So through this paper, we are showing up 163 knowledge products that were reviewed, and from those 163 knowledge products, 66.87% are peer-reviewed journal articles. And as you know, peer-reviewed journal articles are very much important because they are mostly the basis for inputting to regional assessments, such as the IPCC assessment and the IPBES assessment. So from the paper, we gathered that from the projects reviewed and the outputs of the projects reviewed, 19% are cross-cutting and followed by water, 14%, and ecosystems and IAV or impacts, adaptation, and vulnerability to climate change. So next up, I'd like to introduce to you some of the projects that we're funding on women and climate change as the other speakers, the two speakers.
Chris, sorry, you only have 3 more minutes for discussing the book chapter.
All right. So let me
Thank you.
jump into that. But I could provide the PowerPoint presentation later. And maybe I'll just wrap up the two projects by saying the key messages. So I would agree with Arij that women are really natural caretakers. So women, especially for example in disaster-prone areas, they are able to take care of the household, take care of the kids. So the same way our projects in APN has found out is that, for example, this first project, they said that when you improve communication, especially communication that is fed to women, so it makes the pathway even better, and women can be really effective in communicating those climate information. And on the other side, another project is focusing in Cambodia and Fiji. So they also said that when a disaster strikes, the author said that when a disaster strikes, the roles and responsibilities of women are multiplied. And as regards the local and community values, they are also something that should be considered when we are developing some climate adaptation for the communities. So I'd like to provide this slide to the organizers, so then this can be distributed later. So my comments on the presentation, maybe I'd like to pose a question to Professor Lacana. So maybe let me just start with my question is, we have talked about the importance of outreach and risk communication. However, what are the online tools that you're currently using For example, the use of risk maps and how do you employ social media, and how are these tools being sustained? Are there other actors like the youths and other groups? So maybe I'm interested to know that. And I think some of our participants would be very pleased to know that information as well. And I also want to emphasize here that awareness raising and capacity building are needed not only for the public, but also the experts. So experts should have a kind of consistent training as well, because experts should be able to adapt to new normal. Like, for example, what we're having now, we should be able to be flexible. And with being flexible, we are able to better engage the society and the local communities. So that's also in line with what APN does. We have our Capable program, and our Capable program, we facilitate activities that could build the capacities, enhance the capacities of individuals, groups, and like our focus group today, which are women, who are women. And as to the second presentation, so I'd like to maybe ask Arich on how can the information or the knowledge that the women are having in their system and are able to promote to others, how do they sustain this kind of system, and how do they how do the others help them to be instruments of change? So maybe I'm interested to know how women interact with others, because normally women would talk to same gender. Like, for example, she said that they have a group in WhatsApp. So I'm interested now how they are able to connect with others and not just with people of the same gender. Also, I'd like to know how some gender-based differences are accepted by our male counterparts, and if there's some specific some examples or story that Arich could share. I think those kind of narratives would be helpful for our audience, and especially for students to be able to really appreciate the role that women are having in this changing climate, in this changing environment. And I guess as she said, I also agree that this when you invest in women, you also invest in the future, because women take care of the kids. And why do we have all the global and environmental agenda? It's because we wanted to have the future that we would like to have, a good future for our kids. So like our network, APN, we are supporting a lot of activities that could link up the recent environmental agenda, such as the Paris Climate Agenda, the SDGs Yoga Framework. And we always pay particular importance to applications made by young female applicants who would like to receive funding from APN, and as well as how the communities can be engaged and can be co-creators of knowledge. So I guess that sums up my presentation and my reaction. And if you'd like to get to know more about APN, please email this contact addresses, and you can look up the following URLs about APN. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Chris. I think I will say something, especially for the students who are participants tonight. Ada pesan penting mungkin untuk para mahasiswa yang sedang atau akan melakukan riset, bahwa APN, organisasi tempat Christmas Uchiyama bekerja, menyediakan grant atau funding dana untuk penelitian kolaboratif. Jadi tadi sudah ada websitenya, silahkan dicek. Mungkin ada teman-teman yang tertarik untuk bekerja sama atau sedang mencari dana untuk risetnya, terutama mungkin untuk mahasiswa S2 dan S3. I'm just telling the students about the grant opportunity with your organization. Oke, sekarang kita bisa tepat waktu, ini jam 8.30, 8:30 we will start the discussion, question and answer. So anyone, just like on the previous part, anyone have any question can raise their hand in the participant list, I can call. Kalau ada yang ingin bertanya dalam bahasa Indonesia, silahkan tunjuk tangan juga. Nanti akan dibantu oleh Pak Indrawan dan saya sendiri untuk translasi. Dr. Indrawan and myself will translate if there's any question in bahasa Indonesia. But before that, I think I would like to read some key messages again. I think all of us agree with the presenter. I also have the same notes about the key message. I think the first one is collaboration of multi-stakeholders is the key. Kolaborasi dengan stakeholder yang bermacam-macam adalah kunci untuk kegiatan yang sukses. Kemudian public engagement is very important. One of the success story is finding solution to local issues that become national political issues in the jelly box problems in Thailand. Jadi mendapatkan solusi bersama-sama dengan publik itu sudah berhasil dilakukan di Thailand, bahkan ketika suatu masalah lokal telah menjadi masalah atau isu politik nasional. Kemudian from Ms. Arich and also mentioned again by Ms. Uchiyama is that women are natural caretaker, so that women also domestically very close to the community, so it's very important they can become a very important agents to make initiative success, because they can start it from their own family and then goes up to the community. And then there's a very interesting question from Miss Christmas. How the reaction of men about women increasing roles on the initiative, is that right? Yeah, we all would like to listen to that. Jadi ada pertanyaan menarik tadi dari Miss Christmas Uchiyama, bagaimana reaksi para laki-laki terutama di dunia kita yang patriarkal ini tentang meningkatnya peran wanita dalam inisiatif terutama di bidang lingkungan dan perubahan iklim, juga di kesehatan masyarakat. I think I have one question. One person raised their hand. One more. Ada lagi, satu lagi mahasiswa atau teman-teman dosen. Ini ada peserta dari, we have a participant from all over Indonesia. Mostly from Java and Kalimantan, but we also have one from Maluku. Ada lagi yang ingin bertanya? Kalau tidak, atau mungkin kalau ingin menuliskannya di chat juga boleh. Nanti dibantu panitia untuk memforward ke saya pertanyaannya. So I think I will just call. Who's this? The Chiro Project. Please mention your name and your organization or university before you ask your question. You may ask in Bahasa Indonesia as well if you want.
Okay, good evening. Actually, that is one of my project. My real name is, sorry, I should turn on the video, yeah?
Yes, please.
My name is Andrio. I am an alumni of University of Indonesia. Halo Pak Indrawan. I am actually now I'm doing research on COVID. I already have 7 to 8 international publication regarding the COVID. Okay, my question is regarding the bogfish. Yeah, you're talking about the jellyfish. You should, I think, my suggestion is you need to put more context in the term of the medical. For example, you should show the magnitude of the jellyfish by putting what is the infection rate. How many people get infected? What is the trend? So I think when you're talking about the jellyfish, do not only superficial. You need to put more determinant factor. What is the causal factor? What is the land use? Is there any factor of regarding land use? And once again, when you translate the threat of the jellyfish to the people, you need to calculate what is the infection rate. Same like we are talking the COVID right now. we put the we translate the infection in the number of the how many people get infected, the positive rate, like that. I think it's important too that the what is the cause of the jellyfish? Is it like a natural phenomenon or just like a human-induced problem? That's my suggestion regarding COVID, regarding the jellyfish. Next is regarding the second paper. It's interesting, yeah. When we are talking about the gender, woman, and climate change, but nowadays we forget one factor in the equation. What about the COVID? If you're talking about the climate change and the woman, there is a gender gap, right? There's a gender bias between the woman and the climate change, which is the woman more concerned about the climate change. The same thing also happened with the COVID. In the COVID, the high mortality rate is more higher in the male than the female. The female is more conscious. So I think for the second paper, we need to think about in the middle, when we're talking about the gender, climate change, how about the COVID? My paper, I studied that regarding the COVID, we have the like a lockdown, yeah, limited restriction, that it influenced the climate change. There's a many theory outside. So yeah, I want to talk about the climate change a little bit. There's a theory regarding, yeah.
Can you make it shorter because we still have
okay,
so we can have
yeah.
time for
My
other
second question
questions.
is, what do you think about the gender, climate change, and the COVID? So is it the COVID will change the climate change or not? So what is the role of women regarding the COVID? So that's my question. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Pak. I think I haven't seen any other participant who raised hands. So I think Professor Lakana can answer the question. After that, Ms. Arich can answer the second question while waiting for other questions. Please, the time is yours. Prof. Lakana.
Due to the signal, I catch just some sentence. So you asked me about how I correct data for the magnitude, right?
Yeah, the question is, I think because in your presentation you didn't really tell about the magnitude of infection and things and other things on the medical data of the jelly box stung. So could you explain and where we can find it if we want to know?
Okay, so this is the most difficult part because when we start, we have no knowledge. And no one believes it is existent in Thailand, and that is why no one diagnosed as we call injury or death caused by the box jellyfish sting. So when I review medical records, there are a lot, like more than 300 and 400 medical records that they caused by, namely, they diagnosed like a anaphylactic shock, or in layman term means severe allergic to jellyfish. So this is not allergic, it is a toxin itself that caused the death. So later on we call in medical epidemiologists, we call outbreak investigation. So we investigate the death case and come up with proving that this is caused by box jellyfish. And later on, we set, because they have no surveillance system before, that is why we set surveillance system and teach them to do that. All of every death case or severe case we investigate. And from the severe or death case, we can expand to the minor case. So in long run, we develop knowledge of diagnosis and set the surveillance. That is why the case increased later on due to many people know this one and they diagnose and report. In addition, we set the toxic surveillance networks. It comprises of 3 major groups, nationally and internationally. The expert group, communities, and working group. And I'm in all the networks. And via this way, we can get more cases. When you ask community to report, so this is a big deal. Community not use like regular or structural reporting system. So we have comedy-based surveillance and event-based surveillance. Like they can detect abnormal increase of jellyfish, and they can notify or injury. However, this one, the important thing is not number of injuries, but one death case caused huge effect because in Europe, America, or they have the international news and they don't want to come here because it's not safe. If you come to this, you have recreation at the sea and you die by drowning, people accept. But if you die by something like very severe and they have a lot of wound in your bodies, no one accept that. That one have a huge impact in tourists and also in local too. And right now, if you ask, they have at least 8 death case, but lately we can prevent severe case from death due to our intervention. Am I answer the
Question.
your question?
Yeah, I think so. Bagaimana Pak? Mungkin saya bisa menjelaskan lagi untuk yang lain dalam bahasa Indonesia. Jadi dalam hal box jellyfish, yang penting ini adalah menjadi isu politik nasional, terutama di bidang pariwisata di Thailand. Kita tahu pariwisata Thailand juga sangat besar, sehingga ketika ada kematian di laut karena box jellyfish ini, walaupun hanya satu, tadi Bapak yang bertanya, Ciro Project bertanya, bagaimana dengan datanya, data tren dan lain sebagainya itu sangat sulit didapat karena sebelumnya tidak diketahui sebab kematian tersebut dan dokter hanya mengatakan alergi, padahal dengan penelitian akhirnya diketahui bahwa itu adalah sengatan dari jellyfish atau ubur-ubur. Di Indonesia juga banyak ubur-ubur, tapi di Thailand hanya dengan 1-2 kejadian orang meninggal sedang berenang di laut itu menjadi national issue, isu nasional sampai politik karena sangat berpengaruh pada pariwisatanya. Sehingga yang lebih penting adalah kerjasama dengan publik untuk surveillance. Itu tadi pesannya dari Ibu Lakana. Makanya kenapa lebih penting, lebih ditekankan ke surveillance daripada data-data, karena yang pertama datanya memang belum terkumpul banyak dan karena publik yang melakukan sehingga data dari publik itu juga tidak ilmiah ya, begitu kurang lebih. Mudah-mudahan bisa menjawab. I think there is no other participants and Miss Arich can answer the other question. What do you think on gender on COVID? And then I think you can also answer Miss Christmas question previously about the reaction of men about the role of women. Thank you.
So there were 2 questions that came from Christmas. One was how women interact with each other and also with people of the other gender, and also how do men react to these roles being taken by more and more women out there. So in terms of interaction, I'm going to go through each of the roles and how each of those interact, because our study was limited to these women who are the members of the Green Women Pakistan Forum. Let's start with the most difficult one, and that's the policymakers. So the policymakers, the female policymakers in Pakistan that work around environment, whether they're part of the provincial environment protection agencies, or whether they're part of like the Ministry of Climate Change, or workers with like federal government or provincial government research centers. They have a lot of public facing engagement. So that means a lot of doing talks with people, doing press releases, doing press conferences, attending a lot of events, doing keynote speeches, and meeting with people and talking to people at different round tables and discourses of that nature. But there's a lot of behind the scenes for these policymakers as well when they're especially interacting within their departments or within their institutes. And these can range from like smaller memos to letters, because we have to keep in mind that most of our developing countries in Asia are still not paperless, and we don't have those kind of established IT structures in place. So there's still a lot of like files and folders and letters and memos and having those meetings, and there still are hierarchies where women are constantly having to go through several structures and several arms of and branches of structures to get to what they want to do. So there are still quite communication related barriers there. The second role is the entrepreneurs. The entrepreneurs are pretty much doing what a male entrepreneur would do. So there's marketing, there's promotion. It happens through websites, through social media, through advertisements, whether that's a print advertisement or an electronic advertisement. They also do a lot of one-on-one communication, which is something that's slightly different from male-based environmental startups. And that's very interesting because I guess most of the women come from, like in Pakistan, teaching is a very respectable job, and it's something that women are constantly motivated and encouraged to do. One of the main reasons is that, well, obviously, I mean, it's respected, but also number two, it's easy hours. It goes well with housewives and their kids and the whole timetable and everything. So women do have that kind of educator influence on the work they do. So even the green entrepreneurs have most of the green female entrepreneurs have components of education in their projects or product or service, whatever they're offering. So for instance, I mentioned Papu Recycles, which is an initiative of recycling. Now that's a commercial project that's working on waste streams and helping commercial and businesses recycle more and more. And they're earning from selling that recycle to the manufacturing industries. But they do a lot of education element as well, and they do a lot of one-on-one sessions within schools and with embassies and teaching their staff about waste management and waste streaming and all of that. With educators, the environmental educators, there's a lot of like lectures and workshops. A really great example in the chapter is Teach for Change, which is kind of a program and an initiative led by women who train teachers to do more informal after school education using crafts and arts and more creative like theater and puppetry and all of that to teach environmental education to kids outside of school. So whether that's like in a park or in an academy, I mean, obviously with COVID, things have changed, but in a more status quo situation, it would have looked like people sitting in a park and doing puppetry and theater and teaching kids about an environment and how to take care of environment, how to be more eco-conscious, how to manage your waste and making those individual choices. And then when we talk about housewives, I mean, there are housewives that are not just limited to their house. They're doing additional work. They're working outside. Like there's the retired banker Saima Malik in the chapter, and she has a Green Me campaign in which she gets the kids together in her neighborhood and community, and she does like summer camps or like art camps, and she uses arts and crafts, so coloring, painting, and all of that. And while they're doing that, having the discussion around environment and climate change and what that means for the kids, but having it in a more communication manner, which is suited to the kids, not to panic them or making them anxious, but to relate to them what the reality of the world is and what they would need to do. So there's an example of housewives like that, but there's also the housewife, like a generally housewife within a house, was having those interactions with her sons, her brother, husband, father, uncles, and making those positive influences. I'll talk about my own mother, who has been an avid gardener all her life, and she has now started making her own compost pile in the garden. And that's not something.
Aritz, can you make it shorter? We still have another question.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, so
Sorry
just
about that.
wanted to say that, you know, she started her compost pile, and she's having those conversations, very informal conversations with family and friends and neighbors, and getting them involved as well. So these are some of those more kind of organic conversations and communications that women have. In terms of how men are accepting these roles, it differs. It differs with location. It differs with whether it's a rural area or an urban area, whether rural areas in Pakistan are generally more like, you have people there who are a bit, the majority of the population there would be illiterate. They wouldn't have studied. They wouldn't have an education. So there's more of that patriarchal mindset. Like Amna Jamil, she runs environmental clinics to provide female farmers with technical advice on agricultural decision making. So it's a clinic that kind of identifies what the problem is, and then they assist him in finding solutions for their farm. Or you know, connecting them to people who have tractors or whatever they need. So helping them with resource usage as well as, like, you know, pest diseases, whatever, but in a more environmental friendly way. And she did that in a lot of different areas in Pakistan, but the work she did in northern side of Pakistan was very easy. And the men in those villages were very open to it happening, because they wanted the females in their houses to do that kind of work, so they can then, you know, move to Dubai or other areas and do labor or whatever work they wanted to do. But it gave them the opportunity to be able to do that. Whereas when she did it in the southern side of Pakistan, it was very different. There was a lot of opposition from men in that area, because they wanted to remain the main farming people, rather than the females. They wanted the females to work on children and homes and do all of that chores. So yes, I mean, there's a combination of reactions that we've had from men. Tia, do I still have time to answer the COVID question?
Yeah, because I think we can move to another question first, because I still have some. Thank you, Aritz.
No problem.
Panitia, kalau di jadwal kita sampai jam 9, ini masih ada 10 menit, saya rasa masih bisa ya. Ibu MC, Mbak MC.
Ya, masih bisa.
Ya, oke. There is one question. I think it would be best to answer by Mbak Dani. This is from Bapak Zainal Arifin Anis. The question is very general. It's like, why developing countries always ask help from developed countries and always given terms and condition to be able to get the help? I think either knowledge transfer or funding mostly, or grants. Maybe Mbak Dani can answer. If it's short, then maybe the others can add to that. Chris, I think.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Dia, and thank you also for the question. It's a very typical, how do I say, a typical situation. Or yes, I think the typical situation that, or assumption that the developing country always asking the help, the developing country asking the help from developed countries. But actually, the fact is now it's shifting slowly but surely. The developing countries also have their own capability and resource to do the things that they want to do in development in many development projects. For example, in the case of Indonesia, Indonesia also contribute very significant in many environmental and also sustainable development projects since I think 2 decades ago. And the thing is, the exposure is still limited, and the things also because the supply and demand of donor agency is always coming from the Western countries, so that's what we saw generally. But actually, developing countries also doing much in this regard. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Dani. So it's not quite right, yeah, saying that developing countries always ask help from developed countries, because I
Yes.
see that APN it's not really developed countries. It's more Asian countries get together and giving grants to fellow Asian countries. Actually,
Correct,
there's a
yeah.
question. Yeah, actually, there's a question for Chris from Bapak Muhaimin. Muhammad Muhaimin asking what the APN roles for disaster mitigation of climate change. If you can answer it in a very short time, because I think I still have one more person as a final question.
Thank you.
Please. Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Dia. Yes, well, in our network, disaster risk or risk reduction and resilience, or RRR, is one of our core programs, or not core programs itself, but one of the core themes that we'd like to focus on. So, of course, when it comes to disaster risk reduction, APN provides support for regional research. So when we say regional research, we'd like to gather as much evidence, so then this evidence we can use for informing policy and for giving it to the public, so then we could communicate the risk or this kind of information that the public needs. However, I think we need more emphasis on disaster risk reduction, and now it's getting more and more urgent, especially with the Sendai framework for disaster risk reduction. And I think that if many countries can, cooperate, this is my personal opinion, and also related to the first question, if many countries will cooperate, and not only the developed countries who have mostly the resources for like financial aid or funding, then I guess disaster risk reduction could be more treated collectively, or could be more considered in a holistic manner, because the developing nations could also contribute their capabilities, their potentials, their skills, and that doesn't mean that these skills are not needed by also the other nations, or those who are coming from the West, or for example those who are already having disaster risk plans. So in short, what I'm saying is APN supports regional cooperation, and through research and through capacity building. We are not yet there when it comes to really communicating or really achieving the aims of Sendai framework, but hopefully, with all multi-stakeholder partnership, we could, achieve the targets. And yeah, I mean, if there's some question about APN, I'm really happy to answer it by email, and I could provide my personal email too. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris. Masih ada satu pertanyaan, boleh ya, Mbak MC? Ini ada dari I think this will be the final question, and then before I giving it back to MC, I will wrap up our discussion this evening. Ibu Sulistiowati, silahkan Ibu. Ibu masih ada? Sulistiowati, are you still here?
Yeah.
Ya, silahkan kalau mau.
Thank you for the opportunity. Yeah. Thanks, Nadia, for the opportunity. My question is,
suaranya agak putus.
Rich, probably, but oh yeah.
Suaranya agak putus-putus.
Can you hear me well?
Mungkin perlahan karena putus-putus suaranya, agak putus-putus, jadi perlahan-lahan ya Bu.
Do you hear me well?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. My questions probably for Miss Arich. It could be for other speakers probably. What is the biggest challenge when you try to involve women to actively engage in the project, the time of program from their kids? That's all. Thank you.
Boleh diulang Bu bahasa Indonesia pertanyaannya, saya putus-putus.
Ya, jadi tantangan terbesar ketika melibatkan perempuan untuk secara aktif terlibat dalam proyek-proyek yang dilaksanakan begitu.
Ya, baik Ibu, terima kasih.
Terima kasih.
Aris, did you catch the question yourself?
No, I didn't. I'm sorry.
Okay, so the question from Ibu Sulistiawati is, what is the biggest challenge you ever had when you engage women to be actively involved in the project? What is the biggest challenge to make the women actively involved?
I mean, we've done a lot of different projects that are actively gender driven, and then there are others where we just want to incorporate the gender element. In either of them, the challenge has not been on involving or engaging the women in the project, but more around the matrix of the project itself, the indicators we want to set for success, and how we want to translate the engagement that we're having with these women in terms of impact, in terms of outcome, in terms of greater scalable and transferable results. So I guess it's always been a challenge of translating that engagement into the impact we're having and more understanding from that kind of project impact evaluation, and rather than actually asking women to involve, because what we've seen is, even if it's a woman that works and is a mother and is has a really busy life, they would still be interested to be involved in a project that benefits them, and even more involved if it benefits their community. We've seen a lot more solidarity of women having that kind of connection with the community around them. So if you're asking them to be involved in something that's going to benefit their community, they're definitely going to be on board with the project. The only challenges we've had is understanding how to translate that engagement into impact for us from the project point of view.
Thank you, Arich. Thank you to Professor Lakana and Chris, as well as Mbak Dani. I think we're great. We finished only 2 minutes after 9, as the committee asked us to finish. I think I will making a brief wrap up about our discussion tonight. So the lesson learned we can have from the book Civic Engagement in Asia, and lesson learned from transformative learning in the quest of sustainable future, especially on the theme of women as agents of change in public health and climate change. The first one is both from Prof. Lakana and Arich, is that public engagement is very important. Public knowledge is very important, especially if we want to solve local issues, even national issues. And women, especially through their informal relation to family and communities, can be a great agents for making an initiative a success. And another important lesson from our discussion tonight is that Asian countries, ASEAN countries, which is called developing countries, is actually can help each other on initiatives, including providing research and project grants. I think that's from me. Maybe Pak Didi can add a little bit more before we bring it back to our MC for final statement. Please, Pak Didi Muhammad Indrawan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mbak Dia. You have said everything that I could have said, and I do not know what else I could contribute. But
as a man, as a man.
Yeah, that's also very important. The awareness that we have to make room for each gender, and both presenters and both discussions have shown how it is to gendering approach. It is really a winning option for everyone, including in times of climate change, in times of COVID. I'm really grateful for all the speakers, the organizers, the excellent moderator, the excellent questions, and that's it, Mbak Dia. I return to you. Please take over. Thank you again.
Thank you, Dr. Indrawan. Me as well would like to say thank you once again to Professor Lakana, Arich, and Chris Uchiyama, as well as Mbak Dani in Jogja. I would like to say thank you to all the participants, to the great question. Very sorry if we kind of try to answer it in a rush because of time constraint, of course. And now I would like to giving back this discussion or tonight event to our MC. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Miss Dia. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, to picture some memories of this event, we would like to invite our panelists and to turn on the camera, and this photo session will be guided by the committee.
Please turn on all the videos. Professor Lakana for pictures. Yes. Is everyone else opening the videos for group pictures? Silakan, Mbak. Let us know if it's finished.
Okay.
Okay. Smile, please.
So there is 6 pages.
More slides. Okay, finish.
Thank you.
Finish. This is the end of international webinar series and book discussions organized by Social Science Education Major of Teacher Training and Education Faculty, Lambung Mangkurat University. On behalf of the organizing committee, we would like to thank all the distinguished speakers and the discussion. The Prorektor Universitas Lambung Mangkurat, Dr. Rahmatullah, Dean of Math and Science Faculty, Indonesia University, and Dr. Muhammad Indrawan for the attention and participation. We also apologize for any inconveniences during the event. To close this international seminar, let us recite Hamdalah.
Alhamdulillahirrahmanirrahim.
Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you to Pak Rektor, Prof. Sutarto Hadi. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. stay until the
nice.
end. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's nice to know you.
Thank you, Pak Rektor.
Thank you, Pak Indrawan. Thank you so much.
Pak Romat, terima kasih. Sampai akhir, thank you.
Pak Indrawan, thank you Pak Indrawan for inviting me.
Sama-sama, Pak.
I think the committee will turn us off now, I guess.
Thank you, Madia.
Ya, terima kasih menunggu panitia.